Have you ever walked through the misty hollers of Appalachia and felt a pair of unseen eyes on you? A fleeting movement in the corner of your vision, a shadow that seems to dart just out of sight. You might have just had an encounter with the Appalachian shadow folk. For generations, whispers of these elusive figures have echoed through the mountains, tales of dark, humanoid shapes that watch from the tree line. But what if we moved beyond the ghost stories? What if we looked at these beings not just as folklore, but through the lens of ecology? Welcome as we venture deep into the wilderness to ask, where do the shadow folk truly live? Today, we're not just recounting spooky encounters. We're on an ecological expedition, applying real-world principles to understand the potential habitats of these mysterious cryptids. If shadow folk exist, they must, like any other creature, have a place in the ecosystem. They need shelter, resources, and a way to remain hidden from the ever-expanding modern world. So, grab your hiking boots, because we're about to explore the untamed corners of Appalachia, where these entities might find their sanctuary. Let's start with the most fundamental need for any elusive species: cover. Appalachia is famous for its dense, old-growth forests. Think of places like the Great Smoky Mountains National Park or the Monongahela National Forest. These aren't just collections of trees. They're complex, multi-layered environments. The canopy is so thick in some areas that the forest floor remains in a perpetual twilight, even at midday. This low-light condition is the perfect canvas for a creature that is, by its very nature, a shadow. The abundant undergrowth, rhododendron thickets, mountain laurel, and dense ferns creates a labyrinth of natural hiding spots. A shadow entity could move through these thickets almost silently, using the dappled light and deep shade as perfect camouflage. But it's not just the forests themselves. The very geology of Appalachia offers an incredible advantage for a hidden species. This is a land of ancient mountains, weathered down over millions of years, leaving behind a network of caves, rock overhangs, and deep, narrow valleys known as hollers. These aren't just simple caves. We're talking about extensive karst systems with passages that can stretch for miles underground. Think about the countless unexplored cave systems in Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia. These subterranean worlds would provide a perfect, stable environment, shielded from the elements, seasonal changes, and, most importantly, human eyes. It is entirely plausible that shadow folk use these cave systems as their primary dens, or even as a highway system, moving unseen beneath the forest floor and emerging only at dusk or in deep woods. An entrance could be a tiny, hidden fissure in a rock face, completely unremarkable to the average hiker. Now let's consider resources. Even a spectral being, if it interacts with our world, likely needs something from it. While we don't know if they eat in a conventional sense, let's explore the ecological principle of resource availability. Appalachia is teeming with life. The mountain streams are crystal clear and full of fish. The forests are home to deer, bear, and countless smaller animals. If shadow folk are territorial predators, they would have an abundant food supply. But perhaps their needs are more subtle. Many folkloric accounts connect them to places of unusual energy. Geologically, Appalachia is rich in quartz, granite, and other crystalline minerals. Could these entities be drawn to the natural piezoelectric or geomagnetic properties of these areas? Old-timers and paranormal investigators often report strange electromagnetic field fluctuations in places with high sighting concentrations. Perhaps their resource isn't food, but a specific type of geological or atmospheric energy that is abundant in these ancient mountains. This brings us to the human element. The key to the shadow folk's survival would be avoiding us. So, where in Appalachia are people least likely to go? We need to look at the more edge habitats, not just the edge of the forest and a field, but the edge of human influence. This includes abandoned mining towns, forgotten logging camps, and the vast tracts of land owned by timber and coal companies that are often off limits to the public. These areas are fascinating because they represent a zone of transition. The infrastructure of humanity is there: old roads, crumbling foundations, sealed off mine shafts. But the people are gone. Nature has begun the slow, steady process of reclamation. For a creature like a shadow person, these places would be ideal. They could utilize old mine tunnels for shelter and use overgrown logging roads for quick, silent travel, all while remaining in areas people now actively avoid due to their history or perceived danger. The very folklore that makes us fear these places might be the best defense the shadow folk have. Think about the folklore itself as an ecological map. Where do the stories originate? Almost always, they're tied to specific, isolated locations. A particular bend in a dark hollow, a specific ridge known for its disorienting fog, or a desolate stretch of trail near an old family cemetery. These aren't random points on a map. They often correspond with unique ecological or topographical features. A hollow that consistently traps cold air and fog creates a naturally mysterious atmosphere, perfect for a creature that thrives in obscurity. A ridge with unusual magnetic properties might not only attract such beings, but also affect human perception, making an encounter more likely. The stories passed down through generations might be more than just campfire tales. They could be a form of ancestral knowledge, a warning system pointing to the preferred territories of these elusive entities. So, if we were to pinpoint the most likely habitat for Appalachian shadowfolk, we wouldn't be looking at a single spot. We would be looking for a convergence of specific ecological factors. We'd seek out areas with vast, old-growth forests, especially those with dense rhododendron undergrowth. The location would need access to extensive, unexplored cave systems or abandoned mines. It would be geographically isolated, far from major towns and tourist trails, likely in an area with a history of being abandoned by humans. And finally, it might have unique geological properties, like high quartz concentrations or magnetic anomalies. Places like the deepest parts of the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky, the remote wilderness areas of West Virginia's Allegheny Mountains, or the forgotten corners of the Smoky Mountains, far from any designated trail, fit this profile perfectly. In these places, the world of folklore and the world of ecology merge. The rustling leaves are not just the wind, the fleeting shadows not just a trick of the light, and the feeling of being watched is not just your imagination. You are in their territory. You are in the heart of their ecosystem. The mountains hold many secrets, and the shadow folk are perhaps the most ancient and well-kept of them all. Their survival depends on staying hidden, and the vast, complex, and mysterious landscape of Appalachia provides the perfect, eternal sanctuary. Thank you so much for joining me on this ecological deep dive into the world of cryptids. What do you think? Do these habitats make sense? Let me know your own theories and encounter stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more explorations, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Stay curious and stay safe out there.